Hi, class. I'm just going to peek my head down here for a moment and say hi. We're going to just walk you through doing your wound documentation assignment. The things that you mostly need to be looking at, the handouts that we've given you would be on your week 6 handouts that we gave you, and there should be a PowerPoint included for wound like healing and various terminology and things that you need to know about wounds. So once you have read through that, then you can follow through this part here and then just kind of go along with us in how do you measure, how do you decide what your wound needs and that kind of stuff. So we're just going to go from the top of the wound documentation form and we'll just go through it. So when you have a wound that you're going to be taking care of, obviously you want to wash your hands, glove up, take a look at your site. So you would take off your previous dressing and then assess it. So we're going to do this one right here. This is a stage 3 ulceration. You can see that it's fairly deep, it goes into the tissues there, but it does not expose any bone, like this one over here that has some bone or tendon showing. So this is a stage 3, and it's also got some other interesting aspects that we're going to look at as we go through. So first, as far as cleaning your wound, you generally want to have some kind of a product or maybe just some normal saline that you would actually either clean or flush your wounds with. The wound cleansers are really nice. They just come in a little spray bottle. They're made specifically to clean a wound. So it's really one of your best choices for that. You would clean out your wound area there. Now, if you have an area that sort of tunnels, like this one over here is a tunnel, so you also need to make sure that you clean that out, and for that you would probably actually want to have something like a syringe full of normal saline to clean it. So you can just take it, you can always put a little attachment on there. There are specific attachments that are made to, like kind of a little umbrella too, that keep it from spraying. So that's a good thing also that you might want to have. So you would just spray that in that area there, clean it all out, and then of course dab it out with your fresh gauze. When you're measuring your tunneling, so you're going to use your Q-tip and just kind of see how far in it goes. If it's too narrow, you might need to use the other end of the Q-tip and see how far it goes back there. This one doesn't go very far, so you would take that little end there, and then you would use your measuring device to see how far it goes back, and this one is about 1/4 of an inch. Or if you're going by mils, you would look at the thing that has measurements on the other side. So for its depth back there, it's about 1/2 of a mil. So that's what you would put on your depth of your tunneling. Because I got probably ahead of myself on that one. So let's go back to wound stage and location. So you can write whatever location you want as far as your documentation. So if you want to say it's on a hip, that's fine. Just choose a place. So the current dressing condition, the one that we took off, was clean and dry. So if we're going to measure the wound, there are some options for you. If you have something like this little measuring gauge, if it's fairly circular, this is a kind of a nice one that helps you to be able to measure. And so you can just use that to figure out how far it is each direction. If it's irregular, it's probably going to be easier to actually just use a measuring tape of some sort. So with this one, you can see it is about 3.7 in length. Length is from the head to the toe. or from the widest section on this one here is about, again, 3.7 at the widest area of the wound. So that's the width that you would choose is the widest area of your wound. If I was describing this though, I would say it's kind of oval shaped, and it is helpful if you are descriptive about what the wound looks like. So if it's triangular or whatever, that gives them a better idea of what you're actually seeing. So the depth of the wound, the easiest way for you to really get a good idea is maybe use a Q-tip or a tongue blade or something that allows you to kind of get a better idea. And so at the deepest area of the wound, just go from the Q-tip edge, and then that would be as deep as it is. And so you, again, can just compare that with your measuring guide. This one's about 1 centimeter deep. So you would put that on the width of your wound, or the depth of your wound. So looking around the edges of it, doesn't have any redness, so no erythema. It doesn't have any swelling around the area, so no edema around the area. This area here, this dark area, this is eschar. It's usually dead tissue. Because that eschar is there, it's a little bit hard to determine what's really going on in that section there. It may have to actually go to the doctor and get debrided in order for this to heal. So if you're seeing eschar, it needs to be reported and make sure that something's being done with that. So for drainage on this one, it was really pretty clean. When we cleaned it out, it didn't have any yellow gooky stuff. Didn't really even have any bloody type of drainage on this one. So we would probably on this one say that there is no drainage or exudate. For odor, we again say no, that we didn't notice any odor. Undermining, this area here, as you can see, has kind of a little bit of a lip to it. That is undermining of a wound. So when you're looking at this, we're going to say that the head of the patient is up here on the end where the eschar is. So like a clock, the eschar would be at the, say, 10 to 2 point. So this undermining area would be from about 6 to 9 o'clock. So that is how you would describe that. And the depth of it is also pretty shallow. Again, looking at how we'd say maybe about 0.2 of undermining on that area from 6 to 9. And when we describe our tunneling as its location, it's probably about 4 o'clock. And we already talked about how deep that one was at about 0.5. So we've cleansed it out then with our wound cleaner and our saline. And so then we're ready to figure out what are we going to do as far as dressing this. Now, because we do have an area that has some tunneling, we would probably want to put a little wound type packing in this. So you would have a, oops. Grab another one, this is my other one. So because this is a sterile dressing, you use sterile stuff to, so you have kind of a pod that would help get it out, except for this one doesn't work all that great. So pull out as much as you need. You would use a sterile scissor. So take it fresh out of the package also. I just don't happen to have one like that at the moment, but bear in mind that you'd use a sterile scissor. Now, something that's really helpful when you're doing a packing on a wound is to maybe use just a little dab of wound gel. So you could use your little sterile Q-tip for that. at the opening of that little tunnel there, and then just use that to help slide that packing gauze in there. You don't need to pack it very, very tight. The idea is to keep the wound area open so that it does, if it has a lot of drainage, it will still allow it to drain. So the packing sort of keeps it open and allows that drainage so it doesn't abscess back there. And it will eventually heal from the back forward. So this area here, you can probably, since it's fairly shallow, just pack that with the gauze that you're going to use when you pack the wound. Now the wound bed area here, you can see it's really deep. Now, when you think about a wound, it needs to heal from where the cells are that will cover it. So when you have a wound that's very deep, it can't heal from the depth. It has to heal from the outside. So those cells need to have something to migrate across. So if your wound is fairly dry, then this is another instance where you would want to use your wound gel and just put a light little coating of the wound gel in the wound area there so that the cells have something to migrate on. Don't need very much, just a little bit, so that it's moist. So then, question is, what are you going to pack it with? And that's something you're going to have to check with your various facilities where you are as to what kind of products you have. Just get familiar with the products that are there. There's lots of different things that you might be able to use. Something like an alginate. This one, it kind of looks like cotton candy. It's actually kind of a seaweed-based type product, and this is something that's really good for a wound that is quite moist. So that is one type of product that could be put in there. Other things you might see, this is actually also a seaweed-based product, this alginate, but it's in a wafer type of form. There are products like this one, which is a collagen-based product. You'll find products that are silver-based. There's just so many different things. So it just depends on where you are. If you have a smaller wound area like this one, where it's just very shallow, then one of the hydrocolloid type of products is something that might work. So again, just check to see what it, and always you have to have an order anyway for whatever you're doing. Anytime you do a dressing, always check the doctor's order. If you're finding that the product that is being used on it is not working, then you should be sending messages to the doctor to get a different kind of order for that. But know the products you have available so that you can recommend to the doctor sometimes what you have and what, you know, get his opinion or her opinion as to what they would like you to use. So once you've got your packing placed, just sort of tuck, tuck, tuck. Then you probably want to have something to cover it up with that'll have some absorbency without having too much moisture being retained around the skin area there. And there are products that you can use that will help protect that skin area also. So you might want to have something like this No Sting Barrier Prep. And so what you do with these is just put them around the wound edges. So gently around there. Let it just sort of dry briefly. And then put your dressing covering on it. And secure it in place. There's lots of different tapes, so check to see what is best for the product, for the patient. Just secure it down. Then you would want to put your initials, date and time that you did that dressing. So you would kind of write that maybe on your tape edge or somewhere around your, don't do it directly over the open wound area. Don't want the ink to sink through if it does, but just somewhere that you indicate when you did this particular dressing, so that next time someone else comes along to do a dressing, or if you're the one that does the next dressing, that you will know when it was done. And I think that probably covers pretty much everything as far as doing the dressings. So I hope that's helpful to you. If this isn't really clear to you, then you can, make up a little wound at home if you want with children's Play-Doh or whatever. So hope that's clear enough for you. Have a good day.